You've already entered a place and without quite understanding why, felt that immediate impulse to leave? It wasn't the smell nor the appearance. It was something that simply didn't vibrate well, as if the air was loaded, heavy, and your entire body said, "Not here." Many people ignore this type of sensation, but those who are spiritually awakened recognize it immediately. It's like having an invisible radar, an internal compass that points when an environment isn't in tune with your energy. It's wisdom of the soul. These people perceive the subtle changes in the environment, the energy of those who pass through there, the accumulated emotions, the thoughts that hover in the air. And however much the place seems normal to others, for them there's something that simply doesn't fit. The body responds, the heart accelerates, the air seems dense, a sudden desire to leave emerges. In this video we'll talk about 6 places that spiritually awakened people tend to avoid without even noticing. It's energetic protection, a natural instinct to preserve inner balance and keep the spirit at peace. First, shopping centers during promotions and Black Friday. For most people, Black Friday is synonymous with excitement, lines, promotions, and that typical rush. But for someone spiritually sensitive, being in a shopping mall on these dates is like diving into an energetic storm. There's a mixture of haste, anxiety, and even desperation in the air. People fighting over products, pushing, arguments, and a collective energy driven by scarcity and fear of going without. Those who are spiritually sensitive feel this in the body. Pressure in the head may come, the stomach tightens, dizziness, or even nausea. Some describe it as if their own vital energy started draining away. It's a discomfort that goes beyond the physical. It's vibrational. While many run after having more, the awakened being seeks being more. He understands that peace is worth more than a discount. He prefers to enter a quiet store, choose calmly and buy only what really makes sense. Simplicity for him is a form of spirituality. Wearing the same clothes for years while feeling light is worth more than getting lost in a chaos of consumption. He understands that true luxury is having tranquility. When in the midst of a chaotic environment like this, he perceives the contrast. His soul wants silence, wants to breathe. And that's why, instead of participating in the rush, he chooses to preserve his peace and simply leave. Second, hospitals and medical institutions, when there's no personal reason. Hospitals are places of healing, but also of pain. They're spaces where life and death meet every day. And this creates a unique energy, profound, dense, often difficult to bear for those who feel the world with more intensity. For someone spiritually awakened, entering a hospital without necessity can be suffocating. It's like walking through a field of invisible emotions: fear, anguish, anxiety, despair. Even if everything seems normal, the soul feels the weight. Some describe a sensation of tightness in the chest. Others become exhausted without explanation. Some feel the urge to cry even without knowing why. This happens because these people capture the subtle energies that become impregnated in places. Echoes of stories, farewells, hopes and pains that manifested there. They perceive what is beyond the visible, the energetic residue of the most intense human experiences. Many believe in the importance of science, doctors and treatments, but also understand that true healing involves more than the body, includes the spirit, emotions and even the environment. Therefore, they prefer to seek balance in more harmonious spaces: nature, temples, houses of prayer, places where energy flows freely, where one breathes relief. When a spiritually awakened person needs to go to a hospital, they go with purpose and prayer, carry their light, their faith and leave as soon as possible, because they understand that their energy is valuable and that absorbing pain that isn't theirs doesn't help anyone. For them, health is coherence. It's having body, mind and soul walking in the same direction. Therefore, they avoid breaking this harmony. Their avoidance is an act of energetic self-love. Third, temples without spiritual presence. Not every place called sacred really vibrates with the sacred. People of sensitive soul and direct connection with the divine know this better than anyone. They're people guided more by inner experience than by books or traditions. They don't follow rules blindly, they follow what they feel. And it's precisely for this reason that sometimes they feel completely out of place inside certain religious temples. There are churches, mosques, synagogues or spiritual centers that were erected with noble intentions, but over time lost the living spark that made them vibrate. They became cold places where divine presence seems to have withdrawn long ago. The space that should welcome and liberate begins to oppress. Where there was once sincere devotion, only repetitions remain, dogmas, power disputes, vanity disguised as faith. Spiritually awakened people perceive this immediately, like someone who feels the air change temperature. They don't flee from religion, they flee from the absence of spirit. They know when a place is full of beautiful words, empty of truth, when the rituals are just performance and the sacred became spectacle. In these environments, something inside them retracts. The body may even be present, the soul wants to leave. Because for these people, God doesn't dwell in buildings, dwells in the vibration of what is genuine. They've already found the divine in small things, in the soft light of dawn, in the wind passing through the trees, in a conversation that touches the heart, or in the simple silence that brings peace. When they enter a temple, they're not seeking rules, they seek harmony. If this harmony doesn't happen, they follow their path. It's fidelity to the inner calling. They understand that true spirituality doesn't need an audience, a title, staging. The altar can be the heart and the temple, any place where love and truth are alive. They respect all sincere beliefs, they'll never trade authenticity for approval. Because they know, the divine manifests where there's purity of intention and where there's life pulsing, even in silence. Fourth, places marked by old pains. There are spaces that hold more than walls and memories, they hold echoes, ancient energies, sensations that embed themselves in the floor, in the air, in the very atmosphere. Spiritually awakened people feel this in an almost physical way. They enter certain places and something inside them contracts. They don't always know why, they just know. It could be the house where they grew up, full of silence and solitude. It could be the school where they never felt understood. It could be a city where everything collapsed, a relationship ended, or a dream died. Even if years have passed, the body remembers, the heart recognizes. The energy of that space still carries the mark of what was lived there, and the soul feels it. These places are energetic impressions, fields that store ancient experiences. And when the spiritually awakened person encounters them again, the body speaks. A tightness in the chest, a sudden discomfort, a desire to get out of there as soon as possible. The mind might say, everything is fine. But the spirit knows that something heavy still vibrates there, something that no longer matches who they became. These people carry not only their own memories, also traces of family histories, inherited pains, spiritual memories that cross generations. It's as if the past echoed in several layers and they were sensitive enough to hear it. But they also understand something profound. There are wounds that heal with distance. It's not always necessary to revisit the place of pain to prove it doesn't hurt anymore. Sometimes the true sign of healing is simply not needing to return. It's looking back with gratitude for the learning, choosing to move forward without carrying the old weight. Avoiding these places is wisdom. It's the soul saying, this was already. Here we learned what we needed to learn. Spiritually awakened people understand that it's not necessary to remain in energetic fields that have already fulfilled their role. They honor the past, belong to the now. And the now asks for lightness. Moving forward for them is a sacred act. It's respecting one's own evolution and recognizing that the soul doesn't need to reopen wounds just to prove it healed. Because true liberation happens when you realize you've already won the war. Fifth, houses or buildings that have a strange sensation, even when everything seems normal. Energy never deceives, and those who are spiritually awakened feel this in their skin. Sometimes you enter a place and on the outside everything is perfect. Clean environment, pleasant decoration, good smell, everything seems in order. Suddenly that uncomfortable sensation comes that you can't explain. It's as if the air became heavier, as if the space had a history that the body recognizes even before the mind understands. It could be that something significant happened there, a suffering that left invisible marks, an ancient sadness impregnated in the walls, or simply a spiritual coldness difficult to describe. Spiritually awakened people don't need proof to feel this. They simply know. It's a perception that goes beyond logic. They've already left beautiful houses, friendly gatherings, or even comfortable lodgings just because they felt something was out of place. It's inner wisdom. It's spiritual discernment that manifests as a gentle warning, a call to preserve one's own peace. People like this learn to trust this instinct like someone following an internal compass. When they perceive that the energy isn't aligned, they don't try to justify or understand too much. They simply distance themselves with serenity, without creating conflict, without long explanations. Because for a spiritually awakened person, keeping the soul at peace is worth much. Sixth, crowded, noisy, and chaotic places, where there's no greater purpose. Those who carry a deeper spiritual sensitivity know how difficult it is to be in environments where everything seems like noise and distraction. While many people feel excited amid the crowd, enjoying the noise, loud music, agitation, spiritually awakened people usually feel an almost physical discomfort, a sensation of energetic suffocation. What happens is that their senses are more subtle, more tuned. They perceive what's behind what is seen, the tension in expressions, the disguised fear, the collective anxiety, the unresolved emotions that hover in the air. And in overcrowded places, without a higher spiritual meaning, this energy mixes and becomes confused. A true vibrational whirlwind. Think of uncontrolled parties, chaotic nightclubs, crowded malls, stadiums full of screams and euphoria. For the spiritually awakened person, these spaces are exhausting. The spiritual noise is so intense that it muffles the inner voice, that silent connection with the divine, with intuition, with balance. Even when they try to participate, something inside them resists. It's as if the spirit said, "This isn't your place." And usually that's exactly it. They might even go out of courtesy, curiosity, or to accompany someone. Soon they feel they need to leave. It's energetic self-protection. Spiritually awakened people flourish where there's space to breathe, environments that value silence, truth, peace, and real presence. Places where conversation is sincere, where laughter comes from the soul, where time slows down. They need spaces that nourish the spirit. This shows they're listening to their own soul. The path of the spiritually awakened person is rarely linear. It's guided by sensations, signs, and intuitions that often don't make immediate sense, always leading to the right place at the right time. So, if you're the type who avoids certain places and doesn't even quite know why, know that this is wisdom. It's your spirit protecting you. Trust this sensation even when you can't explain it with words. What makes this sensitivity to environments particularly significant is how it reflects a different relationship to reality itself. Most people navigate the world primarily through visual and auditory cues, with occasional attention to smell or temperature. Spiritually attuned individuals process an additional layer of information that operates beneath conscious awareness, a felt sense of energetic resonance or dissonance that their nervous system detects and responds to before the thinking mind can analyze it. This phenomenon aligns with what neuroscience describes as interoception, the perception of internal bodily states. Highly sensitive people show greater activation in brain regions associated with processing internal sensations, emotional awareness, and empathy. Their nervous systems are literally wired to detect subtle shifts in their environment that others might miss entirely. When they enter a space carrying dense emotional residue, their body responds with physical symptoms: tightness in the chest, tension in the shoulders, changes in breathing patterns, sudden fatigue. The commercial environments during sales events create particularly challenging conditions because they amplify collective emotional states. Anxiety about scarcity, competition for limited resources, fear of missing out, these emotions ripple through crowds and create what could be described as an emotional contagion field. Sensitive individuals don't just observe this phenomenon. They absorb it through their nervous systems, experiencing the collective emotional state as if it were their own. Leaving these environments becomes a matter of self-preservation, protecting their nervous system from overwhelm. The hospital environment presents similar challenges amplified by the intensity of emotions present. Fear of death, grief over loss, anxiety about diagnosis, hope for recovery, all these powerful emotions saturate the atmosphere. For someone whose nervous system is highly attuned to emotional frequencies, spending time in such environments without a compelling reason drains their energy rapidly. They're essentially processing fragments of everyone else's emotional state around them. The distinction between authentic spiritual spaces and hollow ritual environments reveals something crucial about how spiritually sensitive people orient themselves. They're following an internal compass that detects the presence or absence of genuine spiritual energy. A magnificent cathedral might feel dead to them if it operates primarily as performance or social institution, while a simple gathering of sincere seekers in someone's living room might resonate powerfully. Their guidance comes from felt resonance, the direct perception of whether divine presence is actually manifest in a space or merely being referenced through empty ritual. Places marked by old pain demonstrate how environments can carry emotional imprints that persist long after the original events have passed. This suggests that consciousness interacts with physical space in ways that leave traces, patterns of energy that sensitive individuals can detect. Certain spaces hold associations that no longer serve, and returning to them repeatedly reopens wounds that would otherwise heal. The instinctive avoidance of certain buildings or homes even when everything appears normal points to a level of perception that operates entirely beneath conscious thought. The thinking mind sees that everything looks fine. The nervous system detects something off. This creates cognitive dissonance, a split between what you think you should feel and what you actually feel. Spiritually attuned people have learned to trust the feeling, recognizing that their body's wisdom often perceives truths that the conscious mind hasn't yet registered. Chaotic, crowded environments without clear purpose drain sensitive individuals because they provide no coherent energetic structure. In a place of worship, even if crowded, there's typically a shared focus that creates coherence. Everyone's attention flows in roughly the same direction. In chaotic commercial or entertainment spaces, attention scatters in 1,000 directions, creating energetic turbulence. Sensitive nervous systems struggle to find equilibrium in such conditions, expending enormous energy simply maintaining their own center while buffeted by conflicting emotional currents from every direction.